Hello and welcome back to the GGBO of painting. If you're new with us, I encourage you to grab some wood and some scraps and paint along with us. If you've been watching us for a while, I'd like to thank you. Now, I'm going to get right into it, but we'll flash across the screen the colors that I'm using here, and we'll get into what I'm working with here. So today I've got a canvas here of a whiteboard, some pine, in the rough shape of a guitar. Now, any guitar shape will do. That's up to your discretion here. Now, what I've started off by doing is I have soaked this in a coat of liquid clear. Now, what that's going to do is that's going to give us a basis for all of our colors here to give it more of that 3D realistic look. Today we're going to get into a landscape, and hopefully we'll have some fun along the way. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to start with some of that rosewood, and that rosewood is going to act as the base for our hills here. So we're just going to kind of put it right here on the canvas and just kind of blend it into place so that we're getting a nice basis for our colors here. And you know, we're just going to keep laying it in here. Now remember, there are no mistakes. There's only happy accidents. So we're just going to kind of build the basis for what we're doing here. And what we're going to need is we're going to need a little bit of water. So we're going to go ahead and take some of that spalted maple, and we're just going to blend that right in there to make it look like there's some water flowing through these landscape pieces here. And what you're going to see is you're going to quickly see that you're forming a portrait here. Now you'll quickly start seeing some images starting to form here. So what we're going to go ahead and do is I'm seeing some mountains in here. So we're going to start building up some mountains. We're just going to go ahead and build right across here. I'm going to start building some mountains and putting in a little bit of sky. And that sky there, we're just going to kind of paint it right in there. And we're gonna put some happy little trees here. I'll put them right here just to make it look like they're overlapping that landscape there. And so now that we're building up on top of that, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna make this a little bit of a sunrise. So we're gonna take some of the purple heart, and we're going to blend it here with this red heart here, and we're just going to make it kind of flow into each other. We're going to keep building that until we got ourselves a nice little sunrise here coming over the horizon of those mountaintops. Now, if you're painting by the end of that doesn't look like this, that's all right. Just remember, there are no mistakes. There's only happy accidents. Now, I think this turned out quite well, and I'm real happy with the results. And I hope you're happy with yours. So, tune in next time, and we'll have ourselves a happy little time. Hello, and welcome back to the workshop. Boy, am I glad I had the infamous Rob Boston here to paint this out for me. This looks like some tedious work. That guy makes it look easy. Am I right? So I guess now that he's done the hard work for us, the only thing really left to do is to pour the resin on top of it to seal this all in. With that, I guess let's get to it. Well, I suppose let's knock up some resin and get to pouring. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pour a thin layer on top of here just to seal everything in and try and reduce as much of the bubbling as I can. I found that even though TotalBolt told me I could pour a 1/4 inch layer at a time, that the first 1/4 inch tried to start in yellow, which I was not too pleased with. So I dialed it back for the last couple to try and get it up to this point, and now this is pretty close to the surface, but I'm going to do another about a 1/4 inch, maybe 3/8 of an inch pour on top of it so that my control cavity is just underneath this image. But we're going to start by doing a thin layer first just to seal all this in. Alright, now that we've got it poured, all we got to do is wait for this one to dry here. And then once that dries, we can add some more layers onto it to build out the full part of the body. All I've got here is a thin layer on top of the wood here, just to seal it in. That way we can go back and fill in any voids and gaps later on so that there is no more bubbling up afterwards, and all we have to do is add some thin layers to it to build it up the rest of the way. And with that, we'll see you after we pour a few more layers. Alright, so I've done another 3 or 4 layers on top of my image here, and I have now filled the mold. It has been almost 5 days, 6 days almost. I think that it is well cured enough that I can pop it out of the mold and we'll see how she looks. I am a bit worried because even in the mold here, this has got a bit of heft to it, so I'm assuming this is going to be a heavy guitar. But for now, let's break it out of the mold so that we can get to cutting pockets and shaving. Well, we can say for sure that at least some of the weight was taken off by that mold, but not all of it. And it looks as though I have some voids back here that didn't quite fill in all the way, which is a little concerning, but we'll see how that fares once I get to shaping this down and cleaning up the edges here and all that stuff. But I'm pretty happy with the result of that, and that image has turned out great on the top, which is what you're mainly going to see anyway. So, you know, once I shave all the comfort curves and everything on the back side here, we'll just seal it in, and we'll have to call that back good for what it is, unless I can get some of those bubbles out of there. So what's the next step? Next step is going to be, I'm going to be routing out all of my channels for my neck, for my pickup pocket, and lining up my bridge so that then I can get all of my placements for where my controls are going to go. And the reason for doing it that way is because I know that you can't really see because the side isn't all that clear, but you can see kind of where that line is. That's where my image is, and I don't want my control pocket to go any further than that, so I'm not drilling out more of this image than is already going to be covered up by the parts. So let's get this out of the way. Now simply for the neck pocket, if I can catch it in the light here, you can see that I've scored a line around where my neck is going to go. I actually want to make this a set neck. So I'm going to route this out as cleanly as possible so that I can then go back with the same epoxy to glue my neck into place. And then from there, it should give me everything I need to line up where the pickup hole is going to go, where my bridge is going to go, and then I can route out all the rest of the pockets in this. So simply all I'm going to do is take some flat lumber here, and I'm going to clamp it in place so that I can score where the line is going to go here, then I can cut it off flush, and then I can just do the masking tape and super glue trick to route out the pocket for my neck. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and we'll come back and route it. Alright, so I got my straight guides on here, and they are all glued down and nice and tight. So all that's really left is to route it. So now that I got my neck pocket fitting all nice and snug, I don't have anything glued in yet, but we need to figure out where this bridge is going to go so that I can figure out where exactly my pickup is going to land. So I'm going to go ahead and take these saddles off. Now that I've got it lined up right where I need it to be, I'm going to pilot those holes, and then from there we can route out where the pickup goes. Then it's on to sanding and shaping so that we can glue the neck in place. Let's go. Alright, so as you can see, I've got my neck pocket all routed out. I've got my pickup pocket all routed out. The holes are drilled for my bridge. All I need to do is figure out where my control cavity is and sand the junk out of this. Now I can feel the weight of the ending of this coming at me as it is coming much closer. So there are going to be certain things that I'm just going to let's say skip over, like the sanding. So I'm going to have to go through all the grits with this to get it up to a nice polish, and then I want to glue in the neck after that so that I can then do the final assembly afterwards. But as you can see, these edges are all rough, so I'm going to take this to my belt sander and clean all this up. But realistically, I don't need to film all that. You've seen all that before. It's something that everyone has to do in these builds. So with that, I'm going to get to it. And I'll be back once this is all sanded up and we can get it all glued together. So now I've roughly got it down to shape. I don't want to do much else until I get the neck glued in. So we're going to get that glued in so that we can figure out where our control cavity is going to go. I only sanded this up to about 320 so that I can go back and do the final sanding after everything is all sorted and I know where everything's going to go. So with that, let's get the neck glued in. Alright, so now that we've got it roughly shaped, I've gone ahead and contoured this here. I've just now got to figure out my control cavity, which I think I'm just going to keep small and minimal. Now, as I've stated before, all I can really do is go as far down as my image starts here, which means that I'm going to have to countersink the top part of it for my control knobs. So I'm going to go ahead and drill this down to size as best I can, and then we'll come back in and clean it out with a router. Wish me luck. I tell you what, working with this resin is a real dusty and a bit messy. But now that we've gotten here, I've got all my pockets drilled out. We're ready to go. So all that really is left to do is I need to make a back plate for this and make sure to get the screw holes drilled for that. I need to make a control cover for my input jack. And we just have a whole lot of sanding to do. So I think this is a good spot to leave this video for now. If you like what you've seen so far, don't forget to subscribe so that you can follow along with the final part of this build. All that's going to be left is putting this thing together and doing my demo and walkthrough. Why don't you go ahead and leave a comment down below. And as always, we'll see you in the next one. Now I'm going to go clean up my workshop.